everyone, this is Dani'i and welcome to this update video. I really hope you're doing great. So we're going to be talking about what is now Hurricane Raphael in the northwestern Caribbean. So Raphael had strengthened into a hurricane and it is likely to be near major hurricane strength before it makes landfall in Cuba later today. So it had brought a lot of heavy rain to parts of Jamaica and even the Cayman Islands, and now it is headed to Cuba where it continues to strengthen. So we're going to be looking at the forecast for the system, and in addition we could see another disturbance try to get itself together and become something out there. So we're going to be looking at that as well. So here we are taking a closer look at the Caribbean. There we can see Raphael. So Raphael is definitely trying to get its eye out. So as I mentioned earlier, it brought its impacts to Jamaica. Many areas experienced flooding and there was some damage as well. Some persons were out of electricity, but thankfully all of that is working to be restored by the various companies, and there was no loss of life either. None has been reported, which I'm really happy about. But then Raphael had approached the Cayman Islands while it intensified into a hurricane. And so if you're from the Cayman Islands, you can let me know what happened, keeping with the typical impacts to expect. I would imagine that there would be some flooding, some coastal inundation as well, and a lot of power outages caused by the hurricane. But now it is moving away from the islands and headed towards western Cuba. But elsewhere in the Caribbean, there isn't much going on right now, but because of the hurricane, there is going to be a lot of increased moisture within the vicinity of parts of the Greater Antilles. So we're going to find that some areas may experience some additional periods of heavy rainfall today. So let's go on to the rainfall forecast. All right, and here you've got it. So we can see here that the map gets pretty colorful as we head towards the vicinity of Cuba. Some of these lighter shadings of purple and pink. So there could be rainfall amounts up to 4 inches in parts of western Cuba in association with the system. Elsewhere in parts of the Cayman Islands, there could be some additional heavy rainfall. Similar story for parts of Jamaica as well. And then as we head to the vicinity of Hispaniola, there could be some downpours today. We see a little bit of those colorful shadings within the vicinity of Puerto Rico and the Virgin Islands. So some heavy rain is also possible there. Then as for the Lesser Antilles, going to Anguilla all the way down through Trinidad and Tobago, there could be some periods of heavy rain today. And there's also that chance of rain for the ABC Islands with some increased moisture in the area. Guyana, Suriname, and French Guiana likely to be on the drier side today, not seeing a whole lot of color. And as we head towards Central America, for areas such as Belize, northern Honduras, the Bay Islands, the Keys, sections of Mexico, Guatemala, it is likely that today will be a pretty dry day. But for other areas, going to a few spots in El Salvador, Nicaragua, Costa Rica, and towards Panama, there could be some rainfall activity around. And then up to the Bahamas, Turks and Caicos, some scattered showers and thunderstorms will be likely today. So that is what is anticipated today in terms of the rainfall activity. Again, the heaviest rain in the region likely to be associated with Raphael as it is going to be approaching the western part of Cuba. And now we want to look at Raphael in a bit more detail. So let's go on to that cone forecast. All right, so here we have it. And we can see here Raphael is currently a Cat 1 hurricane with maximum sustained winds at around 90 miles per hour. And as I had mentioned, additional strengthening is forecast. And it is currently moving to the northwest at 14 miles per hour. So it has been moving a bit faster compared to when it was near Jamaica, for example. So we see that hurricane warning still in effect for the Cayman Islands. And then we also see it for the Isle of Youth as well as much of western Cuba. And then for central Cuba, there's that tropical storm warning. So the area is going to be very close to that tropical storm force wind field. And there could be some heavy rain as well that may induce flooding. We also see the Florida Keys under that tropical storm warning, which is the blue shaded, and then a tropical storm watch in effect for going as we head towards the eastern side of Cuba. So Raphael is in an area of conducive upper level winds as well as very warm surface waters, and there's quite a bit of moisture associated with it as well. So it is likely to rapidly strengthen before it makes landfall. However, once it's going to be moving into the Gulf of Mexico by early tomorrow morning, it is going to slowly encounter some more hostile conditions, and eventually it will slowly weaken. In terms of where exactly it goes, look at this huge circle. There are so many possibilities in terms of the track, so nothing is solid. yet in terms of where along the Gulf Coast will be feeling impacts. But once it's in the Gulf, someone's going to get it. So as we head further out in time, though, we'll have a better idea of where the system is going to head. But the Gulf Coast should definitely be monitoring this. So not because it is expected to be weakening at the time means that, oh, it's not going to be anything much. It could still bring some impacts. So we'll see what Raphael decides to do over the course of the next couple of days, but still unleashing those very dangerous impacts in parts of the northwestern Caribbean. And so, guys, please stay safe and do not take any unnecessary risks. Then as it pertains to this next disturbance right here, we can see a 30% formation chance over the course of the next 7 days. So that is a low chance right now, but models have been showing an airflow pressure trying to get itself together just north of the Caribbean. So we'll see what eventually happens if the system decides to take advantage of any favorable environmental conditions to get itself together and intensify. But aside from that, there is no other disturbance that is marked. However, November is likely to remain quite active. Let's go on to these graphics here from the Climate Prediction Center, which were released yesterday. All right, so here we go. So this is the Global Tropics Hazards Outlook map. And we have the first one being for the week of November 13th to the 19th. The second one being for the week of the 20th to the 26th. Now, as for the Caribbean, we see much of the region highlighted within that red and white striped shading, or even the greens. Now, the red and white striped shading is showing that we could see development take place within the vicinity of the Caribbean within that time frame, again from the week of November 13th to 19th. And then for the week of the 20th to the 26th, we also see a similar story, and many areas around being in that green shading. Now, the green shading represents the probability of above average rain, around 50% chance or so. And the darker the shading is, the higher that probability. So we're seeing that November is expected to remain active for the Caribbean. And we could definitely have a couple more systems form. And it is not really normal to be having, storm after storm, because November is the last month of the hurricane season where we typically see only 1 or 2 storms develop. We've already had 2 storms forming in November, Patty and Raphael, and there's a pretty decent chance that we could see something else try to get itself together before the month and the hurricane season at large officially concludes. But I'm here to keep you guys posted as per usual. So please keep safe if you're to be affected, or if you're being affected by Raphael this morning, or if you should encounter any heavy rainfall which results in flooding. Please do not take any unnecessary risks. And that is it for this updated video this morning. I do hope you found it to be informative. But if you have any questions, feel free to drop them in the comments. I'll get to you when I can. And remember to always be weatherwise.